Welcome to Millennium Daytime Bulletin. I'm Shweta Simar from New Delhi and you're watching Millennium News Channel 24. Today I'm bringing you the latest updates from around the world. Let's begin with today's top headlines. UK announces further $450 million military support to Ukraine. Israel to include Rafah in Gaza security zones, defense minister said. Bangladesh border port saw sharp uptick before India halted transshipment. Sudan accuses UAE of support and complicity in the genocide at the World Court. Bangladesh welcomes China to participate in Teesta project. Arctic Sea ice melt exposes United States to new threats. India's maternal mortality rate comparison to Nigeria is unfair, says Health Ministry. Market sell-off sends investors scrambling for safe investments. MS Dhoni returns to CSK captain for IPL 2025 after Gaikwad injury blow. Lionel Messi braces, earns Inter Miami dramatic CONCACAF Championship Cup win over the LAFC. Now let's look at the details. The government has announced a further £450 million of military support to the Kyiv as the United Kingdom and the Germany prepares to host a meeting of the 50 nations in Brussels. The defense officials are convening to pile pressure on the Russian President Vladimir Putin and force him to end his invasion of Ukraine, the United Kingdom Defense Secretary John Healey said. Also, we must step up to deter Russian aggression by continuing to bolster Ukraine's defenses, he said. Also, the packages including the funding for the hundreds and thousands of drones, anti-tanks, mine and the repair of the military vehicles. About £350 million will be provided by the United Kingdom with extra funding from Norway via the United Kingdom-led International Fund for Ukraine. The package includes £160 million to provide spares and also maintenance to the vehicles and equipments to the United States and the United Kingdom that has already provided to the Ukraine. A close military aid package that will be funding for the radar systems, anti-tank mines and hundreds of thousands of drones worth more than Haley said. The work of the group is vital to put the Ukraine in the strongest possible position. We cannot jeopardize the peace by the forgetting of the war, which is why today major package will surge support to the Ukraine's frontline fight, he said. 2025 is a critical year for Ukraine. Our job as defense minister is to put into the hands of the Ukrainian war fighters what they need. The fund follows a series of military pledges to Ukraine from the United Kingdom. Last month, Sir Keir Starmer announced $1.6 billion missile deal for Ukraine following a summit of the European leaders in London on the top of £2.2 billion loan to provide more military aid backed by the profits from the frozen Russian assets. The Lib Dems said the support package announced on Friday was the small change and called for the government to seize the Russian assets in Britain to give Ukraine more funding. While we welcome any increase in the support for Ukraine, this package is small change compared to what also needed to combat Putin's barbaric war, the party defense spokesperson Helen said. Also, Haley and his German counterparts, Defense Minister Boris, are the co-chairing facility for the Friday's meeting of the Ukrainian Defense Contact Group, which has traditionally been hosted by the United States Defense Secretary until Donald Trump became president in January. Since then, in a sign of the United States stepping back from the European security matters, Haley has taken over as the chairperson. The meeting follows a similar gathering of defense ministers from 30 countries in the Franco-British-led coalition of the willing, who met in Brussels to discuss installing a force in the Ukraine to ensure enduring peace. Haley said he did not envisage a reassurance force that will separate the currently warring sides down the line of contact, according to the AFP news agency, but added that bolstering Ukraine's army would be a key part of the plan. Israel's defense minister has said it will expand its so-called security zone in Gaza to include the southern city of Rafah. During a visit to the area, Israel Katz said that the military was leaving Gaza smaller and more isolated to the pressure of the Hamas into releasing the hostages it is still holding. Also, the military has already seized land running along the entirety of the Palestinian territory borders, which it has characterized as the buffer zone to the preventing of the attacks. Also, the expansion to cover Rafah and its surrounding areas, which make up almost 1/5 of the Gaza, comes after the military ordered civilians to evacuate and establish a new corridor separating them from the nearby Khan Yunis. 2/3 of Gaza has been designated as a no-go zones or placed under evacuation orders since Israel resumed its offensive against Hamas on the 18th of March following the collapse of a 2-month ceasefire, according to the United Nations. It says 390,000 Palestinians, almost a fifth of the 2.1 million population, have been displaced once again with no safe place to go. The United Nations is also warning that supplies of food, medicine and fuel have run out because Israel blocked deliveries of the humanitarian aid to Gaza since 2 March. Also, the IDF, that is Israel Defense Forces, launched a ground offensive in the Rafah, home to about 280,000 people, before the war last May, leaving large parts of the city in ruins. It also seized a strategically important strip of land running along the nearby border with Egypt, known as the Philadelphia Corridor, which is said was necessary to prevent the weapons being smuggled to the Gaza and the Hamas rearming. Also, during the ceasefire that began in the January, about 1 lakh residents returned to what was left of their homes in the city after the troops pulled back to border areas. We'll have to see how the issues gets resolved. Stay with us. Before India terminated the transshipment facility for Bangladesh export cargo, truck and consignment saw a sharp uptick at the Petra Pole, the nation's largest land port, data shows. The New Delhi halted transshipment facilities for the neighboring country on the April of 8, that the days after the Bangladesh chief advisor Mohammad Yunus advocated the extension of the Chinese economy around the strategically important northeast Indian region. Also, India first allowed transshipment of the cursed cargo also from the Bangladesh to the third countries using the Indian land customs stations and subsequently Indian ports and the airports on the June 29, 2020. According to the sources in the Petra Pole Land Port Custom Department, in the financial year 2023 to 2024, 3,300 trucks with transshipment commodities or export cargo entered the Petra Pole from the Bangladesh with 4,000 consignments valued at 2,000 crores. Also in the financial year 24-25, 4,000 truck, that is a 39% increase, with transshipment commodities entered Petra Pole with 7,000 consignments valued at 3,000 crore. The facility was extended by our country to Bangladesh in 2020, but it saw a little response that year and in 2021 and 2022. In 2023, though, the transshipment consignment arrived in good number and there was a sharp increase thereon. Primarily ready-made garments come to us as the European countries like Spain and other commodities from the European countries. The rush of consignment is seen before the European festive season, including Christmas, said a senior custom official at Petra Pole. Officials explained that trucks from the Bangladesh first carry the consignment to Petra Pole, where they are checked by the land port and custom authorities. Indian truck then also take them to Kolkata or Delhi airport. Every day 150 to 200 trucks enter from Bangladesh, of which around 15 to 20 carry transshipment commodities. From India, around 400 trucks go to the Bangladesh side. Ever since we have received the notification, no transshipment consignment are being allowed. However, normal import-export truck movement as well as passenger movement between the two countries continue, said Kartik Chakrabarti, Secretary, Petra Pole Clearing Agents. Staff Welfare Association. Also, 4 trucks stationed on the Bangladesh side, that is Benapole Land Port, returned to the country yesterday. Also, most transshipment consignments from Petrapole used to go to Kolkata airport and then go to foreign countries either directly or via the Delhi airport. This is bad news for the exporters of Bangladesh, mainly garment exporters. It was cheap and easier to send through India. Indian trucks owner that used to carry the consignment from the Petrapole to Kolkata or Delhi airport will suffer losses. Sudan has accused the United Arab Emirates at the United Nations top court of violating the Genocide Convention by supporting the paramilitary forces in its Darfur region. A genocide is being committed against the ethnic group of the Masalit in the west of the country. Sudan's acting justice minister, that is Muawiyah Osman, told the International Court of Justice, that is also known as the World Court, on Thursday. He alleged that a genocide was being carried out by the paramilitary rapid support forces with the support and the complicity of the United Arab Emirates. Sudan last month filed a case against the UAE at the court for allegedly arming the RSF, an accusation that has been denied by the UAE in repeated consequences. Also, the UAE on Thursday reiterated its rejection of Sudan's accusations, calling them baseless and politically motivated, adding that it supports neither side in the Sudanese civil war and that there is no evidence to support Sudan's claim. Also, in its statement to the court, it questioned the ICJ's jurisdiction over the matter. Our only interest in securing a lasting peace is that it ends the suffering of the Sudanese people and brings stability to the Sudan and the wider region. Reem Ketat, that is the Assistant Deputy Minister of the Political Affairs in the UAE Foreign Ministry, told CNN and Millennium. Also, since April 2023, 2 of the Sudan's most powerful general, that is Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, who leads the Sudanese armed forces, that is SAF, and former ally Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo of the paramilitary RSF, have engaged in a bloody feud over control of the country, which is split between their strongholds. The ongoing civil war has caused one of the world's worst humanitarian catastrophes, and diplomatic efforts to bring the conflict to an end have consistently failed. Also based in The Hague, the Netherlands, the ICJ deals with the dispute brings between the states the violation of the international treaties. Sudan and the UAE are both signatories of the 1948 Genocide Convention. Osman alleged that direct logistic and other support the UAE provided to the RSF and allied militias have been continuous to be the primary driving force behind the genocide, including killing, rape, forced displacement, looting, and the destruction of the public and private properties. Cases before the ICJ can take years to reach a final decision, and so the states can ask the court to issue emergency measures that prevent the conflict from escalating. The Sudanese minister asked the court to urgently order the UAE to refrain from any conduct amounting to complicity in the alleged genocide against the Masalit, and that the Gulf state submit a report to the court within 1 month and then every 6 months until the court comes to a final decision on the case. On Wednesday, welcomed Chinese participation in the Teesta River Comprehensive Management and Restoration Project. Bangladesh assurance was communicated during the ongoing visit of the Chief Advisor Professor Mohammad Yunus to China. The two sides also signed an agreement on exchange of the hydrological information of the Yarlung Zangbo Jamuna, that is the Brahmaputra. Also, in the joint statement issued after the end of the official discussion, the two sides announced that Bangladesh and China have agreed to start discussion for a free trade agreement at the early date. Also, the two sides agreed to promote a high-quality belt and road cooperation, strengthen international cooperation on the industrial and supply chains, and work together to achieve modernization in both countries, the joint statement announced. The two sides also extended support to the core issues relevant to both sides, and Bangladesh reiterated its support for the One China policy. Apart from addressing the BOA Forum annual meeting in the Hainan, Professor Yunus also met President Xi Jinping in Beijing. Professor Yunus met a group of Chinese traders and investors for a high-level roundtable at the Presidential Hotel in the Beijing on Friday. Also, Bangladesh reiterated its firm commitment to the One China principle and its position that China is the sole legal government representing the whole of China and Taiwan is an inalienable part of the China's territory, the joint statement announced. Bangladesh expressed appreciation to China for creating convenient conditions for the treatment of the medical tourists from Bangladesh in Yunnan province of China. Also, China consistently adheres to the principle of non-interference in the internal matters of other countries and respect Bangladesh's independent sovereignty and territorial integrity, supports Bangladesh in safeguarding its national independence, respect the development path independently chosen by the people of Bangladesh, and supports Bangladesh in exploring a development path suited to its own national conditions, said the joint statement. Also, Bangladesh has assured China that together they will advocate an equal and orderly multipolar world. The two sides have also ensured and that assuring of the starting of the negotiations on optimizing the China-Bangladesh investment agreement. The joint statement informed that Bangladesh has welcomed Chinese companies to participate in the Mongla port facilities modernization and expansion project. These, apart from the two sides, stand readily to cooperate in the further development of the Chinese Economic and Industrial Zone, that is CEIZ, in the Chittagong. Also, 2025 in the 50th anniversary of the forming of a bilateral diplomatic relationship between the Bangladesh and China, and the two sides resolved to deepen exchanges on this occasion on culture, tourism, media, education, healthcare and youth. The two sides also agreed to deepen cooperation in the blue economy and announced that they will hold a new round of dialogue on the maritime cooperation at an appropriate time. The visit to China is the first bilateral visit by Professor Yunus since he became chief advisor to the government of Bangladesh on August 8, 2024. Nearly 2 decades before the United States President Donald Trump eyed the strategic value of the Greenland for the United States, the Russian exporters planted their country's flag on the seabed 14,000 feet below the North Pole. Since the statement of the intent by Moscow in 2007, some things in this far north haven't changed. The Russian President Vladimir Putin is still in power. Arctic ice continues to retreat and the race remains for the countries vying for influence. Also, in the winter's Arctic Sea, ice level covered 5.53 million square miles, about 1.1 million square miles less than last year. The lowest since record began nearly 5 decades ago, according to the NASA and the National Snow and Ice Data Center in the United States, with some climate model predicting ice-free summers in the Arctic by 2050, competing claims for access to the region's sources that will heat up along with the temperatures, posing a security challenge for the United States. The growing great power and trust in the Arctic is directly linked to the climate change, said James Roger, executive director of the Cornell University's Tech Policy Institute. The Arctic is warming between 4 and 7 times faster than the rest of the world, he told Newsweek, and as a result you have more access for the transit, more access for military activity and more access to natural resources. Less sea ice cover and over the summer's period in the Russian Arctic is allowing for the increased transit through the region and a change in the great power interest there. Moscow has moved to militarize the Arctic and stake a claim to the shipping routes and energy reserves expected to open as the climate change melts the region's ice. Speaking in the world's largest Arctic Circle city of the Murmansk, home to the Russian naval fleet, Putin told a forum last week that the region could be staging area for war, also dismissing Trump's Greenland grabs as a matter between the United States and Denmark, not to mention the semi-autonomous island itself. Putin did take a swipe at the NATO for the recent drills in the region involving the alliance's newest member, Finland and Sweden. The alliances is designating the far north as a staging area for the possible conflicts, Putin said, even if the exercises follow increased Russian drills near the NATO borders. Also, the Russian leader announcement coincided with the launch of the Perm nuclear-powered submarine built by the nearby Sarvash shipyard, also equipped with the hypersonic Zircon missiles. We'll have to see how the issues get resolved and what happens in the further details. Comparing India's maternal mortality ratio, that is MMR, to Nigeria is unfair, the Union Health Ministry said on Wednesday while reacting to the recently released United Nations Maternal Mortality Estimation Interagency Group, that is MMEIG report titled that Trends in Maternal Mortality 2000 to 2023, which has indicated that India has made significant strides in reducing MMR, but it is registered 19,000 maternal deaths in 2023, contributing almost 7.2% to global mortality. The biggest contributor was Nigeria, that is 28.7%, followed by India and the Democratic Republic of Congo, that is 7.2%, and then Pakistan, that is 4.1%. The comparison is not entirely fair when considering the total population of the two countries, that is Nigeria, which population is 23.26 crore, and India, that's population is 145, that is 145 crore, said the Health Ministry in the statement. Also, India has made significant strides in reducing MMR, going from 103 per lakh live birth to 80 per lakh live births. Also, the MMR of the India has now declined by 86% compared to the global reduction of the 48% over the past 33 years from 1990 to 2023. Also, all the numbers of the estimated maternal deaths in India have also reduced from 24,000 to 19,000, states the report. Also, however, India is still contributing 7.2%, that is 19,000 of the total maternal deaths worldwide, also ranking the second just to Nigeria, which has 75,000 maternal deaths, it added. Also, MMEIG comprises World Health Organization, the United Nations Children's Fund, that is UNICEF, the United Nations Population Fund, that is UNFPA, the World Bank Group, and the United Nations Department of the Economic, Social Affairs and the Population Division, that is UNDESA, the Population Division, and the collaboration with the technical experts. They developed global, regional, and the country level maternal mortality estimates for the period of 2000 to 2023. Maternal mortality rate is defined by the WHO as the death of a woman while pregnant or within 42 days of termination of pregnancy from any cause related to or aggravated by the pregnancy or its management, but not from accidental or other causes. It's a crucial metric to track the progress of the maternal health and identify area for improvement in the healthcare system. Also, the report added that every day in 2023, over 700 women died from preventable cause related to the pregnancy and childbirth, meaning that approximately one woman is dying every 2 minutes. Now bringing you latest updates on today's market trends. Global equity markets suffered steep losses today, with the major indices across the North and the South America experiencing a broad-based sell-off amid the heightened investor anxiety. In the United States, the Dow Jones Industrial Average plummeted 2,231 points or 5.50%, closing at 38,314, while the S&P 500 dropped 5.97% to reach 5,000, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq tumbled 5.82% to reach 15,500. Also, these sharp declines reflect growing concern over the combination of the factors, including the inflationary pressures, interest rate uncertainty, and potential earning disappointments. The Russell 2000, which tracks smaller cap companies, also has hit hard, falling to 4.37% to reach 111. Also, in the stark contrast, the CBOE, that is the volatility index, that is the VIX often referred to as the fear gauge, that is the market fear gauge, also surged 50.93% to reach 45.31 in its biggest hike since months. Also, in the signaling of a dramatic increase in the market volatility and the risk aversion, investors appear to be rapidly shifting out of the equities and into safer assets or hedging their portfolios in anticipation of further turbulence. The sell-off extended beyond the United States border. The Canadian market were also deeply in red, while the S&P TSX Composite Index falling 4.69% and the S&P TSX 60 down 4.44%, reflecting a widespread threat and the risk across the sectors including energy, finance and materials. Latin America market also faced significant pressure. Brazil's Bovespa index sank nearly 2.96%, losing over 3,800 points, while the Chile's S&P IPSA and Mexico's S&P BMV IPC dropped 2.79% and 4.87% respectively. Today's market action underscores rising unease among investors who are grappling with the tightening of the fiscal conditions, geopolitical tensions and the general loss of confidence in the near-term economic stability, with the VIX spiking sharply and the key global indices shedding billions in the market value. Sentiment have clearly shifted into the defensive mode. The coming days will be critical in determining whether this is a short-term correction or just a start of a deeper, more prolonged downturn. Commodities market reflected a day of divergence with a significant movement observed across the energy, metal and agricultural sectors. Energy commodities faced strong headwinds leading to the day's losses. WTI crude oil declined by 2.15% to settle at $60.66, while the Brent crude oil dropped 2.21% to reach $64.13. These declines come amid the persistent concern among and about slowing the global economic activity, reduced fuel demand and increasing inventories in the major consuming nations. Additionally, geopolitical tensions and the uncertainty surrounding the OPEC Plus production strategies continue to weigh heavily on the investor sentiment in the energy space. Natural gas followed suit, slipping 1.64% to reach $3. Though still within a relatively stable range, it remains vulnerable to seasonal demand shifts and fluctuating the storage data. In contrast, the metal segment painted a more optimistic picture. Gold advanced 1.10% to reach $3,000, maintaining its strong position near the upper end of its 52-week range. Investors appeared to be rotating into the safe haven asset amid mounting concerns over the inflationary pressures, currency volatility and the broader macroeconomic instability. Also, silver posted the strongest gain of the day among the tracked commodities, that jumping of the 4.57% to reach $30. This sharp rise may reflect increased industrial demand as well as renewed interest from the investors seeking diversification away from the equities and the fiat currencies. Also, agricultural commodities showed resilience, with the soya bean inching up 1.07% to reach $9.8. The modest rise suggests continued global demand and potential supply constraint due to the weather-related disruptions in the key growing region. The commodities hovering close to the higher end of its 52-week range indicated the relative strength in the agricultural sector. Overall, today's performance illustrates a clear contrast between the declining energy prices and the upward momentum seen in metals and agriculture. Also, market participants appear to be repositioning their portfolios in anticipation of the economic shifts, possibly favoring hard assets and essential over the cyclical commodities tied closely to growth and consumption. As volatility continues to define market dynamic, commodities will likely remain a focal point for both hedging strategies and speculative plays in the day ahead. We'll be right back after a short break. I'm Shweta Simar from New Delhi. Keep watching Millennium Daytime Bulletin.
Hello viewers, you are watching Millennium News 24. America and global villages seen America independence built by immigrants, manufacturers, roads, highways, educations, healthcare, IT, scientists, space, business development to all thousands of multimedia and all major social media platforms and news network in America. Millennium News 24, one of truthfully news networks in America and global news organizations. Please watch, follow and subscribe. We are in iOS and Android devices, Roku, Amazon, Apple devices, all smart TV, globally Horizon satellite, social media Millennium News 24, Millennium TV 24. Website www.millenniumnews24.com and www.millenniumtv24.com. Thank you.
Welcome back after the break. I'm Shubhata Simar from New Delhi. You are watching Millennium Daytime Bulletin. Now let's look at some sports highlights. MS Dhoni will captain CSK for the remainder of the IPL 2025 after Rituraj Gaikwad was ruled out of the tournament with an elbow fracture. Head coach Stephen Fleming confirmed that the development on the Thursday, that is April 10, the eve of the team's home game against the Kolkata Knight Riders. Gaikwad, 28-year-old, sustained a blow to his elbow while facing Tushar Deshpande in the CSK clash against the Rajasthan Royals on March 20th. Also, though he was featured in the next two games against the Delhi Capital and Punjab Kings, scans have now confirmed a fracture. Unfortunately, Rituraj Gaikwad is going to be ruled out of the tournament, Fleming said. He got hit in the Guwahati. He's been operating with an amount of pain. He got an X-ray done which was inconclusive, and we had an MRI that also revealed a fracture in his elbow, so we are disappointed and feel for him. Also, we appreciate the efforts that he's gone to in terms of the trying of the playing, but unfortunately he'll be out of this tournament for now. We have an uncapped player in the MS Dhoni who is and who will also take over as a captain for the remainder of the IPL. The injury is the major setback for the five-time winners who have lost 4 of the 5 matches and sit 9th in the standings. With Gaikwad out, they lose a key figure in the already misfiring top order. Notably, he also has been the CSK leading run scorer in the 3 of the last 4 seasons. Gaikwad injury setback means 43-year-old Dhoni will return as the CSK captain, reclaiming a role he has held for the majority of the franchise's storied history. He briefly handed over the reins to the Ravindra Jadeja in 2022, only to take charge again midway through a turbulent season. Dhoni stepped aside once more before the 2024 season, but now finds himself back at the helm, tasked with the reviving of the CSK faltering 2025 campaign. When you're down 2-0 with less than 55 minutes to go into a 2-legged quarter-final, there's one man you can count on above the rest to turn your fortunes around. That is the World Cup and the 8-time Ballon d'Or winner, that is the Lionel Messi. Inter Miami is headed to the CONCACAF, the Champions Cup semi-finals for the first time in the club's entirety history after the Messi's brace propelled his side to a dramatic 3-goal comeback. We wanted more and we ended up achieving it. This time the reality is that for a comeback like this, luck often has to be on your side, and it was, Inter Miami head coach Javier said after the game. Messi's perfectly placed penalty kick in the 48th minute and was also the clincher that the Miami's 3-1 win over the LAFC, giving the David Beckham Oates side a 3-2 aggregate win across the 2-leg. I'm happy that I want to thank the players for their direct effort, because despite the difficulties, despite conceding a goal early in the 5 first minutes and having the try stacked against us, they believed they could turn it around, and they showed it, he said. Miami faced one-goal deficit heading into Wednesday's game after a defeat away in the first leg of the tie. A Nathan Ortiz goal in the 57th minute was all that separated the two MLS sides last time out. That's all for now. Thank you for tuning in. Stay with us for more updates. Log in to stay updated with the latest news on our social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and TikTok at Millennium News 24. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel Millennium News 24. You can also watch us on Android and iOS devices as well as on Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV and all smart TV platforms. Enjoy entertainment and latest news with us. Download the Millennium TV app, Millennium TV USA for Android and Millennium News on Google. Thank you for being part of Millennium News Channel 24.